Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's the Mouse Lady here, bringing you episode 2 of Small Handed Edition, featuring 3 different variations of the Hati S, which will consist of the Universe and the Stardust Ace editions, as well as the Red Classic edition. I will be comparing the differences between all 3 mice, my experiences, and of course how the mouse fits my 15 by 9 centimeter hands, as well as my, positive and negative experiences with the mouse. So with that being said, let's talk mice. So jumping right into it, today I'm going to be taking a look at 3 mice, 2 of which were sent out to me by Vessel Gaming to review, and to give them feedback on the mice, but them sending these 2 mice out won't have any impact on my thoughts on either mouse. And also, big shout out to Jafer for vouching for me for them to send these mice out to me. Link for his channel will be down in the description. The third mouse will be my personal copy of the Hati S Stardust edition that I bought from X-Ray Pad about 5 or 6 months ago. And the purpose of me including it in today's video is to compare the long-term quality control of my copy and to compare the differences between it and the Universe Edition Hati S Ace. So getting specs out of the way first, all 3 mice have identical dimensions of 113 millimeters long, 61 millimeters wide, and a height of 40 millimeters at its tallest point. The Ace Edition comes in at 49 grams on my scale, and that's even with 2 side grips on it, 52 grams on my Stardust Edition with all of the grips on, with the Classic Edition coming in at 54 grams with all of the grips on, but without the grips, they claim it's 50 grams or so on the Amazon page. The Ace Edition features a 3389 sensor that goes up to 16,000 dpi, with the Classic Edition featuring a 3360 sensor that goes up to 12,000 dpi. The Classic Edition also has completely solid sides instead of having holes on the sides like on the Ace Edition. My Stardust and Universe Edition both use Omron 20M switches, which was kind of disappointing to see on the newer Universe Edition, especially since the Classic Edition has the Kale 8.0 switches, and you can also even get the updated Stardust Edition with Kale 8.0s as well, so it'll have the same switches as the XM1R. So that makes the Classic Edition a pretty nice value at $65 on Amazon, and then the Ace Edition's costing about $100 after tax and shipping on most websites, which is kind of insane. Comparing my Stardust Edition to the Universe Edition, the only major change that I was able to notice is the Universe Edition having a large sensor ring on the bottom, and my Stardust Edition having no sensor ring at all. And of course it has a different design, which undeniably looks pretty cool, but not cool enough to warrant a $100 price tag, especially when it's still using Omron 20M switches. So now getting into my experiences with the mice, my thoughts, and what I think is the best value for you. So before we get into my overall experiences with all 3 mice, I wanted to do the "Is this mouse too big for my small ass hand" segment like we did in the Superlight review. So the Hati S, for those that don't know, is basically a mini G Pro wireless, but with a wire and holes in it. However, the Hati S Wireless Classic Edition is up for pre-order right now. If the wire was the only thing holding you back, you can go and find the pre-order link in the description for X-Ray Pad. So I will say initially, I hated this mouse when I first got it because I couldn't figure out how to properly hold it. And since I have really sweaty hands, I couldn't keep a steady grip on it. And the holes on the sides really bothered me as well. I'm not really a fan of having holes on the side of it. So putting on the included grip tape really seemed to change my entire opinion and perception on the mouse, and I was suddenly able to get a steady and comfortable grip on it since my fingers, weren't sliding around all over the place. So on the Hati S, I do a relaxed claw, and as you can see on screen now, I extend my ring and my pinky finger all the way out, just like on the Superlight. I have perfect access to both side buttons, perfect access to the scroll wheel, and my fingers aren't too far back on mouse 1 or 2, so I don't have any issues with clicking the triggers like too far back. I'm able to do any grip on this mouse as well, so if you do a palm grip, a claw grip, a relaxed claw, or even a fingertip grip, you would be fine if you have hands as small as mine. However, I will say the relaxed claw was definitely the most comfortable. So yes, the Hati S is a really good option for people with really small hands. So now on to my experiences with all 3 of the mice. So getting right into it, I'm going to go over the things that I didn't like and any negative experiences that I had with all 3 mice. So my Stardust Edition is from batch 2009, which is notoriously known for horrible quality control, and it was my main mouse for gaming and my daily driver for about 3 to 4 months, so it definitely has some wear and tear on it that I can compare to both of the other Hati S mice that are brand new. My QC isn't nearly as bad as some of the other reports I've seen on Reddit and YouTube for this particular batch, but one of the major things I've noticed over time is my back side button has gotten noticeably looser and feels very, very mushy when clicking it. And it also doesn't always actuate the click, which is a huge problem for me since I utilize both side buttons in most games that I play, which I imagine is the case for most people as well. There's also some slight flex on the body on the top, as well as some creaking when I push the sides in, but I haven't had it activate my side buttons. There's no rattle when I shake it, which unfortunately I can't say the same for both of my brand new Universe and Classic Edition mice, as both have rattle, but to be fair, I think it's just the side button ribbon moving around. Other than those issues on my Stardust Edition, there isn't anything else noteworthy to compare for the long-term quality control. So one of the major things that I noticed with the Universe Edition comparing it to my Stardust Edition is how mushy mouse 1 and 2 felt on it in comparison to my Stardust Edition. My Stardust clicks use Omron 20M switches as well, but feel way snappier and don't feel mushy at all. The build quality has definitely improved on the newer copies, but my Universe Edition and Classic Edition both still have flex and creaking when pushing down on the sides and the top, but it doesn't activate any of the side buttons on either copy, and it's not nearly as bad as on my Stardust copy. Another thing that still remains on my newer copies are the back side buttons still feeling a lot looser than the front, which is pretty unfortunate. I had the same issue on my Stardust Edition when it was brand new, and unfortunately, this is still present on my newer copies. The front side button feels way more tactile and snappier, and the back one is very clearly a lot looser feeling, and also slightly mushy. The scroll wheel also seems to be tighter on my newer copies, which isn't a negative for me personally, but just something I thought I'd, mention. You also no longer get the blue cable in your box, which was the more flexible cable with no shielding, I believe. You now just get the 2 black micro USB cables, so that's definitely a con, especially to people that don't want to fork out $20 for a paracord. The stock cables that come with the newer mice aren't the worst stock cables out there. Without a bungee, I could definitely feel it moving around on my desk. With the bungee, though, it was totally fine. My paracord for it should be here tomorrow from Lethal Gaming Gear, so in my opinion, it's absolutely a candidate for a paracord. So I guess the last negative thing will be the pricing of the Ace Edition mice. So my Universe Edition and Stardust Edition, they cost $100, which is pretty crazy if you ask me for a wired mouse these days, especially considering the Universe Edition is still using Omron 20M switches, whereas the updated Stardust Edition at least has the Kale 8.0 switches. In my opinion, the Classic Edition is just a way better value at $65. So now I'm going to go into the things that I liked about the mice and my overall positive experiences. So getting into what I love about these mice, so right off the bat, G-Wolves has the best unboxing experience in the mouse market by a mile, as well as having the most beautiful boxes to display if you're into that sort of thing. You also get a ton of stuff, including a collector's tin, TTC pink micro switches, incredible grips, 2 micro USB cables, and an extra set of stock feet, as well as a cleaning brush for your mouse. One of the first things I noticed unboxing the Universe Edition was the grips. They updated the look of them to be a solid black color instead of a grayish color on my Stardust Edition that I have, and also chilled out a little bit on the branding as far as the color of it, not making it as obvious as on the Stardust grips. On the topic of grips, these in my opinion compete with aftermarket grips like Lizard Skins, the BTL grips, the Razer branded grips, you name it. These are tied for first place for me, as for my favorite grips out there right now. They're very rubbery, they're soft, and mine haven't gotten any less grippy on my Stardust Edition over the 5 or 6 months that I've had them on my mouse, so they seem extremely durable. The stock feet have also improved big time, and in my opinion are pretty much on par with aftermarket feet. I put core pads on my Stardust Edition, but my 2 new copies absolutely will not be getting replaced with aftermarket feet, nor do they need aftermarket feet. They glide very well, feel buttery smooth, and aren't scratchy whatsoever on any of the surfaces that I tested them on. Plus they give you an extra set, which is amazing to see. One of my favorite features of the mouse is it being a detachable micro USB cable. I wish more companies would start doing this, as it makes installing a third-party paracord a breeze and eliminates having to open up your mouse and messing up your stock feet so that you would have to put on the second pair. One thing I will also commend G-Wolves on is I'm starting to put Kale 8.0 switches in their mice, including their $65 Classic Red Edition that I have here. I'll put a sound test up now between all 3 mice. It's very nice to see, and the updated Stardust editions are also coming with the Kale 8.0s now too, apparently. Another thing I loved about the Classic Edition was the solid sides, which will be a preference thing obviously, but I much preferred the solid sides over the sides with the holes on my Ace Editions. It allows me to get a much better grip on the mouse. Another positive is the mice have onboard memory, so if you want to download the software to customize some things, you're able to uninstall it right after and your mouse will remember all the settings, or if you prefer just a simple plug and play option, this mouse has that option as well. So lastly, I'll go over the size of the mouse. It's basically a mini G Pro wireless, making it an excellent option for people like me who have small hands, or even people who have bigger hands. It seems to be a really good fit for everybody. So now on to the major question. Do I recommend these mice? The Hati S is in an awkward spot right now with the Hati S Wireless Classic Edition being out for pre-order and costing $109 on X-Ray Pad. So the wired Ace Editions, in my opinion, aren't worth the money right now, but if you're on a budget and have small hands, the Classic Edition is a pretty good value at $65. The only difference between it and the Ace Edition is 2 grams of weight, no holes on the sides, and a 3360 sensor instead of a 3389, and you get the Kale 8.0 switches in the Classic Edition as well. So unless you're a collector and just want the Universe Edition to just have, it's not a good buy at all in my opinion, even with it being as gorgeous as it is. So that will conclude my review on the Hati S. It's an excellent mouse, but either get the Wireless or the Classic Edition if you want the best bang for your buck. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.